Yeah, so I guess we're doing this. It's been a while, and we haven't really missed much. A lot of games, not a lot of results. If you make the history, it's been a bit of a hiatus with a bunch of fun things going on in personal life stuff. But, what better time to come back than a 4-2 loss in Italy to Milan after you take a 2-0 lead again, like you did in Lille, just to blow it again. Look, man, it's ain't much good happened since I've been gone, so maybe things turn around. The narrator says they won't. Things still ain't really great for Celtic. You go out there and you get 2 early goals playing against Milan. You've already been eliminated for Europa League. Look, I assume most of this is going to be Atlanta-based listeners, so there's going to be a lot of Atlanta references. If you are not Atlanta-based, if you're on the other side of the Atlantic, I apologize if some references kind of like fly past and don't make sense. It was Falcons as hell to watch this team after having been eliminated from Europa League pounce on mistakes and go up 2 goals early real quick. That was just such a Falcons thing to do. Like, oh, it doesn't really matter anymore? Cool. We're going to ball out when we have no business balling out. And then they just kind of crashed back down to earth and then gave up 4 unanswered goals. Not really ideal in any respect. Not see Odson Edouard score again, though. Hopefully he can start to put it together and be that guy in front of net you can get. Tom Rogic, kind of slacked off or not slacked off. I don't mean to say he performed poorly or didn't put in effort, but, he kind of fell off as the game went along, gets the early goal, and, you kind of wonder, is this one of those days for him playing in that attacking midfield role? You had speed out there on the right-hand side. You put Elhamed and Frimpong out there. And, man, it just didn't create enough. And then the defense, man. The defense just lets you down. Again, you've given up 10 goals in the last 3 games. 8 in Europe and then 2 against the Staggies in the cup matchup. And just none of it's acceptable. Look, if you're an Atlanta fan pulling this up, pull up a chair. Let's have a talk, because I kind of want, and I get that the 2020 season's been rough on a lot of people in a lot of different sports. And if you're an Atlanta United fan, I know you're probably feeling that same way, but pull up a chair and let me tell you something that, buddy, life can be a lot worse. And you can look at Glasgow and kind of get an idea of that right now. Because what you have right there, right now, is a team that is kind of listless, to be polite about it, that has, the board backing a coach who just doesn't seem to have it. And look, Neil Lennon's a legend at Celtic. He's played on some great teams. He's been a part of this club multiple times, for a long time, multiple times in charge of it. Came and took a wayward club, produced some brilliant moments with them, and went away. Came back when Brendan Rodgers left in the middle of the night, and got you to where you were at the end of last season, which is, which was winning your 9th title in a row, even though it was kind of sketchy. And you did benefit from Rangers falling apart at the end of the year. And I get there are cracks in the foundation, but Neil Lennon's got to make the hard decision himself right now, because clearly the board's not going to make it for him. But he's got to make the hard decision and walk away from this and maintain the legacy he's got, because it is getting damaged as things go along here, which really sucks because, despite all of this, the man still does have the history and the legacy that comes with being a guy in charge at Celtic, having played there, having won a number of titles, having been involved in so many good things. I'm starting to have my questions about Scott Brown as well at this point, because Scott Brown's been a steward of that club for such a long time. And, man, right now, it just ain't it for Scott Brown. And it looks like his body is starting to fail him, which, look, it happens. You're on the wrong side of 30, man, and the edge is out of it. He's not the same guy. I don't know if Soro's not sewing it in practice to be taking more minutes, but it just seems like the edge is out of this team. Watching them get muscled off the ball in Milan, you kind of hope that when all else fails and when things are falling apart, you can have that physical edge still, and it just wasn't there until the goose was already cooked and out of the oven. But I digress. If the Atlanta fans, man, pull up a chair, because, look, if you're Celtic, you got a manager right now who is being very stubborn about, I'm going to see this out, or I'm going to get this turned around. And you've got a board that's like, he has our full support, and we're just going to keep rolling what we got right now. That's what you're dealing with. You're not dealing with a situation like you had at the end of the MLS's back tournament where it was, man, this ain't flying right now. You had an embarrassing performance against Columbus, and everybody got together and said, we got to make changes. Imagine if after the Columbus game, Frank de Boer had sat there and said, I can still figure this out. I'm not going to go anywhere. And Carlos and Darren kind of put their feet up on the desk and said, well, we're not going to make changes. He's got our full support. He'll figure it out. Sometimes you can see the Rubicon. Sometimes you're right at the edge of it. And sometimes when you look down, your feet are already wet. And that's kind of where you're at with Celtic. Your feet are already wet, and you look behind you, and there is the waters that have been jostled from you walking through them. I don't know what they do next, man. They're 11 points out of first place. They got 2 games in hand. They win both of those, which frankly ain't a guarantee. They're still 6 points out of first place against a Rangers team that just looks better on all fronts. 10 in a row has taken a mortal wound for Celtic, and at this point, if you don't get it, I think you're in a situation where you sacrifice it if it means the long-term stability of this club, so you don't let Rangers get a run of 5, 6, 7 years of great success. You don't have to burn it all down, but you got to address the issues. Don't know where that starts right now. I guess it starts with Neil Lennon leaving, but don't know if that's going to happen or when that's going to happen. But yeah, Celtic fall 4-2 against Milan in Milan. Nice to see the early goals. It was kind of exciting for a minute, and then it was like Lille but worse. And right now, they look broken, and you do hate to see it. Not even sarcastically. Shout out to Rangers for continuing the coefficient battle though for everybody in Scotland. And we'll see who benefits from it next year. They can still push the coefficient further, but that's it for now. We'll check in after the weekend.